Welcome into this Five Clubs conversation. I'm Gary Williams. Every graduating class, every wave has the it kids. Guys who you assume are going to be great because at every stop they've been great. When you're on Palmer Cup teams and Walker Cup teams and you win SEC Player of the Year trophies, you're going to be that guy. Well, this guy wasn't immediately, but now at 37, an 8-time winner on the PGA Tour, a FedEx Cup title, being on President's Cup teams, really having a chance to win a major championship, but most importantly, evolving in every way. That person is Billy Horschel. A deep conversation on a relationship with Rory, where the tour is going, and how and why is he grown. All of that coming up now.
In this split second, your hands make all the difference. It was time for a grip to help them own the moment. Introducing Reverse Taper, technology to stabilize both hands for a more square putter face at impact. The most important split second in golf. Reverse Taper, only from Golf Pride. Respect the grip.
And with that, we welcome him in, fresh off another win outside of his country of origin, which has become his calling card. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good.
It's good to see you. Your Gators, I wonder, knowing that you and I were going to talk, I was thinking to myself, at what age do you start watching sporting events for your school like an adult? Do you watch Florida football like an adult, or are you still a petulant adolescent like you're a freshman, fresh from Grant, Florida? Have you evolved as a fan?
Yeah, I have evolved. I think as you get older, you start realizing a few more things. And I think once you turn, at least in my sense, when you play professional sports, you have a better understanding of how things work. You have a better understanding of the highs and lows in the sport. So, yeah, I mean, I think I've evolved. Listen, I still have my moments where I'm still one of those crazy, obnoxious fans and still a college student, but I've evolved hopefully more to adult side and have a little bit more of understanding respect for the challenges in sport.
Do you, I know you won the SEC Player of the Year a couple times. Do you have a ring, a University of Florida athletic ring?
I think I do. I know I was an assistant coach for the men's golf team a couple years ago when they won the SECs and Nationals. I've got one of the two rings. Somehow I didn't get a second one. I think I got the national championship ring. I don't have the SEC championship ring, but I believe I may have a ring or something for winning the SEC individual. I don't know. I don't. When it comes to rings and trophies and everything, I don't know what I have and what I don't have. I'm not that caught up in that kind of things.
All right. I don't know if you get, I've got an SEC championship ring. Have I ever told you this? This is my dad's.
No, I did not. No, I did not know that. No.
Okay. So my dad was a starting pitcher on the baseball team. They won the SEC in 1956. And so they never got rings. Whether it was immediately or immediately after. And so on the 50th anniversary of their SEC championship, the living members went back and they got these rings. And
that's
so
cool.
I'm only wearing this because you and I are talking. I always put this on my dad's birthday and on the day of his passing. These are the only 2 days I wear it. But I did wear it once to the memorial because I wanted to show DeMarco. And a few people, there was a person in the airport, I just had it, and he's like, "Did you play football?" Like, what are you, as a backup place kicker? I'm like,
yeah.
No, I did not. But I'm very proud of this SEC championship ring.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So
no, it is. I want to start at the beginning of this year because I think goal setting is very important for anybody in any walk of life. When you looked at 2024, do you remember whether it was quantitatively or just in your own mind that you maybe didn't even share with Brittany, what it is that you wanted to get out of this year? Do you remember what it was?
I mean, and the big picture is get back to playing really good golf and get back to where I feel like my game, my talent, get back to that arena, get back to, competing for tournaments, winning tournaments, get back to being in the majors and having a chance to, compete and win a major. That was a big thing. I don't think, when I look at in the beginning of the year, I never had any doubt in 24 that it wasn't going to be a great year. The bigger thing was starting the year off was being patient enough to understand that it may not happen, with a snap of the fingers. It may not start off as hot as I want 24 to start, but I knew as long as I kept doing the right things, kept believing, kept, working hard on the golf course, off the golf course, kept doing the right things, kept building blocks. I felt like the results will come, and we will get back to competing. We'll get back in the winner's circle, and we'll get back to where I feel like I want to be in the game of golf, and I feel like my game and what I've done in the game, I say deserve, maybe is a strong word, but felt like where I belong in the game of golf.
I think the word ebb, it seems like a really benign word, but ebbs in professional golf can be dark. And they can sustain themselves to the point that they bring people to the point of breaking. If we go back to the prior year, I think vulnerability, real vulnerability, is not something that you do with an agenda. But the truth is, when you shared your own vulnerabilities a year and a half ago, I think you got a reaction that maybe even surprised you. Did being vulnerable make you stronger?
I'm not sure if it made me stronger. I think it made me everything that the pressure I was putting on myself, just everything that, not getting the results I wanted, working hard, all that just sort of was like a release moment. And like you said, it was when you're vulnerable and you do something like that, it wasn't planned. It was sort of, it just happened. And I think in that moment, I look back at it now and I'm like, that's what I needed to get, back on course. Because it had been a few months of playing some really not great golf and really inconsistent golf. And, obviously I shared with my team, where I felt I was confident wise and, how I felt. And even sharing it with them, it was never that full release that I felt like I thought I would get by sharing it with them to help me move forward. And so that moment at Memorial there at Murfield, like I said, it was spontaneous and it happened. And, I woke up the next day and I just felt like I felt lighter. I felt a sense of ease. And listen, it was a lot of it's always due to me and the pressure I put on myself and what I want to do in the game of golf and what I want to accomplish. And so for me to share that, be vulnerable, it just happened to be the perfect moment that got me back on track and got me, going forward again instead of going backwards.
Could you have done that 5 years ago?
Well, 5 years ago would have been early 2019. That's a great question. I don't know. I think maybe a little bit, but probably not. Even though Brittany would have been out of rehab for 3 years at that point.
Yep.
I think I still, as a person, I wasn't at a point to, really be open in a public sense, and I was still growing as an individual. But now, with Brittany being out of rehab for 8 years, seeing all the changes she's made in her life, the changes I've had to make in my life, and grow as a person, I think, obviously, I'm a lot more of showing an emotional side that is a vulnerable side than I have been before.
You mentioned Brittany. She didn't have a choice about her own honesty. It's rigorous. That's the term, rigorous honesty. Is her path and the path that she walks every day, that has to have made you stronger as it pertains to identifying challenges in your own vocation, the things that are vulnerable for you. Her honesty has got to have made you a stronger person, has it not?
Oh, yes. I mean, totally. I mean, listen, she challenges me every day. We have to communicate a lot. We have to communicate better than we ever have in our relationship. There's times when, I'm holding things in, like, she may frustrate me on certain things, or I may not be happy with how certain things are going. And she pushes me to open up to her about that, which is a growing sense for me. But then it allows me to be more open in a public and arena atmosphere, and not so much just in a private setting, but more in a public setting, which is a good thing, because I think we live in a world that we've always, whether it be man or woman, we've always kept everything to ourselves, whether it be in a public or private setting. And now we live in a world where the more we can share in a public sense and public way, it can not only help yourself grow and move forward, but you never know how much it can affect and be a benefit to someone else out there as well.
You have known going down Magnolia Lane every year, but you didn't this year. I wonder, Billy, I went to the Masters with my parents for the first time, more than 30 years ago. And any year that I didn't go, you talk about FOMO. Now I was a fan, and then I was in a position of covering it. I wasn't there in 2018 because I wasn't healthy. And while I was focused on getting healthy, it still sucked not to be there. What was it like as someone that's huge? It's the renewal of every year for everybody. What was that like this year not to be there?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was FOMO. For me, I've always wanted to have my golf career, what I do on the golf course, defined by, competing in the biggest events, being able to have a chance to win them and play well. That's what I want to be remembered for in the golf sense, as a selfish person in sense of golf. That's what my entire goal has been for me as a professional golfer. And so not to be able to have that opportunity to sit home and reminisce about, what it's like to drive down Magnolia Lane, what it's like to play in the par 3 contest with your kids, walk out on the range. As I tell people, and I've told people this for years, the most nervous I ever am during a tee shot, what doesn't matter what round it is the tee shot at Augusta at number 1. I'm the most nervous on, round 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's the most 4 of the most nervous times I will ever be on a tee shot to start around the golf. And so you miss all that. But as a golf fan, I love golf and I love watching golf. And so I wouldn't sit at home and not watch it and be like, I can't watch it because I'm not there. No, I'm going to watch it. And so, but yeah, you miss that, and you want to get back to that. I think it brings in more appreciation for all the times I've been there. And so hopefully going forward, I will appreciate it more. I will, embrace the challenges better than I had before when I've been there. So hopefully when I get back there here in 25, I'm a better person. I'm a better golfer. I'm enjoying it, which when I do all these things, I play better golf. I know it, but it has to be more of a natural, organic way. I can't force myself to sort of appreciate where I am and what I have the opportunity of. It has to be more in an organic sense, and it's very similar to when I'm at Wentworth. I enjoy that. That's organic. That's natural, and that's when I play my best golf. So, I think hopefully this year it'll be more an organic way of just enjoying being able to have this unbelievable opportunity of playing in the Masters.
When you won in Punta Cana a couple weeks later, you shot 63 in the final round. But if you look at your final round scoring, you had shot 64, 65, 66, 67. Your final round scoring, with the exception of, I think you shot 73 in the final round of Phoenix. Other than that, all sub 60 and lower rounds. What specifically about that day, winning again, shooting the number you shot, will stand up in your memory?
I just think that the sense of calmness I had that final round. I knew I needed to play a good round of golf, but I wasn't. I didn't come out with the feeling that I was forcing it. Like I needed to force it. I knew I needed to play around the golf, but I was comfortable. I was calm. I knew it was going to be a great day of golf. I knew I was going to play well, but I didn't feel like that pressure, that extra push on my back that sometimes when I sort of force things and I get in my way a little bit. I was just really calm and wanted to go out and play a solid round of golf, play a really solid 9 holes of golf. And I got off to a really good start, which obviously helped the situation, and I was able to carry that throughout the round and play an unbelievable round of golf to win again. And as I've said, I mean, it was some people look at that win and like, how much of that was how satisfying was that, and proving to yourself that you could still do it. And I'm like, never doubted myself that I could do it. I never doubted my ability that I wasn't going to win again. But that win was more for my team, as I've said, because of all the hard work they've put in throughout my career, but especially over the last year and the challenges and, you never feel like you're going to fall off that much. And I felt like I fell off a lot more than I would ever have in my career, in 23. But for them to stay with me and still put in the effort day in and day out, try to make themselves a better coach, a better teacher to help me become a better player and better person, that win was for them, in my opinion. It was more for them than me.
Right after that, you shot 64 in another final round, and that was at Valhalla. And you know this. Look, there are players who have accomplished a lot, and then you look at their major record, and it doesn't add up. And I know that chafes you. There's no way it couldn't. What did the week in Louisville, in the grand scheme of things, playing well the last day, the finish itself, what do you get out of a week like that?
What I got out of a week like that was I felt like since right around the U.S. Open in 2020, a lot of the majors up until that point, I felt like I prepped well. My mental game was well. Like I was mentally in a better spot than I had been early in my career going to majors. Understanding I don't need to force things. Understanding I don't need to be perfect. So I felt like I had played well and done a lot of things right in the majors before that. Now the results don't show. And it's frustrating sometimes when the results don't show how well you felt like you played or how well you felt like you prepped and mentally where you were. But I just knew if I kept on that same path, kept on that same game plan, that it's a matter of time until those results came. And so that was a validation of the way I felt like I played the previous year's majors, and what I had put in. And it was finally, the success was being shown. And sometimes you need that. You need that success. You need that confidence. You need those results to sort of validate that you've been doing the right things to show, hey, if I can stay on this path, this will lead to great things and give you opportunities to be more competitive in majors and then, hopefully win a major. And then obviously that showed, a couple months later at the Open. But I played really well at the U.S. Open. Unfortunately, I didn't strike the ball well on the weekend. I actually was in a decent spot on Saturday, and I think I finished bogey the last 3 holes of the third round to shoot 4 over. And I think at one, I was top 20 playing the last 3 holes in the third round and shot 4 over, and I shot 4 over the final round. So that was frustrating. But like I said, even though I didn't finish off the U.S. Open the way I wanted and get a result of what I wanted, everything I did that week was great. It just didn't materialize the way I want. So it went into the Open Championship at Royal Troon, knowing I was doing the right things. I just had to, continue to stick with the game plan, stick with the path, and let the results sort of come to me.
The weekend at Troon, specifically, let's start with Saturday. It's hellish. When you guys turn back in toward home, it's brutal. And look, you guys are a TV show, and it was a hell of a TV show. You and Xander were the only 2 guys who broke 70 in the last 12 groups. Can you, in that moment, it looked like you were experiencing the joy of what it's like to be in the throes of it. Please tell me you were, and it wasn't in reflection that you said that was a lot of fun. It was fun in the moment, was it not?
No, it was. And I think, as I said earlier, when I'm enjoying the moment, enjoying what I'm doing, enjoying the challenge, and it's in its organic way, and it's not me trying to force it, that joy comes out, and I play a lot better golf. And that day I enjoyed what was going to happen. I enjoyed the challenge. I knew it was going to be a challenge, and I enjoyed that, what was being thrown at us that day. I mean, Justin Rose and I played together, and we had a great battle. It was awesome. We were laughing out there. I mean, we were joking about the clubs we were hitting into the holes. I mean, listen, here we are, we're competing for a major, and yes, it's the third round. If it was a final round, it would have been a little bit different in the sense of how much we talked and everything. But we were pulling for each other. We were legitimately pulling for each other because we knew how much of a challenge it was, and we both wanted to be able to finish off that third round and give ourselves a chance to win a claret jug on Sunday. And so, yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I hopefully everyone saw that, and hopefully everyone understands that was just pure joy, organic. There was nothing forced there. And I embraced everything that was happening that day.
You mentioned the word challenge. To me, when you're in an environment like that, not only the enormity of the stage, but also the challenge of the conditions, I don't think I've ever seen you more engaged in whatever was next, whether it was a chip, whether it was a putt from off the green, whether it was a tee shot on 17 where you're contemplating, do I need to hit driver here? Shane Lowry, I believe, did. There were a few others who hit driver as well there. Have you ever been more present shot to shot than maybe you were that entire weekend?
I think of recent memory, no. I'm sure if I go back somewhere, I was like that, but in that stage and that environment, no, there's never been another moment that I can think of where I've been more present than right then and there.
When it's over, and obviously Xander was great, and I don't know if there is an elixir associated with finishing the way that you finished. What was that Sunday night like? Were you completely exhausted? Was your adrenaline to the point that you couldn't sleep? What was it like to really? And I know, look, at Marion, you were there, but this is right at the finish line. Different, you know that. What was that Sunday night like?
I think if most people know me, my adrenaline is still going for several hours after a round. Doesn't matter what round it is, and so obviously. After that final round, having a chance to win, and listen, I was disappointed, but I wasn't down on myself. I didn't feel like I lost the golf tournament. I played a really good round of golf, solid round of golf. I wouldn't say really good, but a really solid round of golf. I missed a short putt at number 8 for par, and I hit a bad wedge shot bad iron shot at number 10. Other than that, I played a really good round of golf, and I just didn't make any putts on the backside to sort of, make up for those mistakes until the last couple holes. But yeah, I mean, we walked off the golf course. Todd was staying with me. My teacher, Todd Anderson, was staying with me. And so, I think we grabbed some pizza on the way back to the house. We stayed up, watched a little bit of TV. I think around like 10:30, he went to bed. We had to leave, I think, at like 5 a.m. to go drive to Glasgow to catch a flight. He's like, okay, I'm going to sleep. And I said, okay, sounds good. And he's like, you going to go to bed? I said, I probably won't sleep today. And I could just tell that I wasn't going to be able to calm down for a little while. And so, I didn't sleep at all that night. I just stayed up and watched a little TV. And listen, I wasn't depressed in any situation. I was just sort of like, man, I was this close to winning a golf tournament. And so the adrenaline was still flowing through me pretty strong. And I don't think I didn't sleep that night. And then even on the flight all the way to Minneapolis, I may have slept maybe 45 minutes. And so, I didn't get the adrenaline was going for a long, long time after that final round.
Do you think the idea or the theory that you learn a lot more in losing than you do in winning, do you subscribe to that?
I think so. I think, when you win, things go your way. You don't always see how certain things could have played out differently. And so when you lose, you look back and like, what could I have done differently? How could I have handled that situation differently? And I think when I look back at that, number 8, I hit in the bunker right, but I hit actually a good wedge shot. I just didn't play enough wind off the left, and then I missed a short putt there. I sort of just missed a bad putt. Probably had a thought I shouldn't have had in there, and then the iron shot at number 10, I had missed it right 2 times previously in the week. And I just wasn't comfortable in the way the angle was the entire week of the way. You had to aim so far left to when the pins were on the right and the wind was coming off the right. It felt like every time I was going to miss way left of the green. And I could never get myself to commit, even in practice, to sort of swing left and trust that it wasn't going to miss left. And so I blocked it. And so, yeah, you look at a few things here and there that could be a little bit done differently. But, yeah, I've always felt like you learn more from your losses than your wins.
The choice you made to start playing more outside of this country, the way you're received, and let's talk specifically at the Open Championship, is that noticeable to you? That the awareness level, the appreciation people have for your willingness to contribute to tours outside of the United States, is that noticeable to you?
It is. Listen, it's grown every year since I've made an effort to go over there and play. I've talked about how I grew up watching the European Tour and always, not dreaming, but sort of envisioning myself playing over there, going to these sort of historic events, these cool historic cities, experiencing these cultures and these different people and languages and everything. And just that's always been something I've been, infatuated with. But I didn't do a good job early in my career of making that concerted effort. But I think when I look back at now, I don't think I would have the appreciation if I would have done it earlier in my career. And at the same time, I was still, even though I won the FedEx Cup and everything, I was still sort of cementing my place on the PGA Tour, cementing my name and growing, as a person. So, like I said, I don't think that appreciation may not have come across the way it is now from the supporters. But now that I've gone over there, I believe they see the effort I've made to go over there and play, and they see that I've tried to, sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Blend in with the culture, try to, understand it and be a part of it, the culture, the cities, everything else. I think they see that, and there's an appreciation for that. And obviously I've appreciated everything that the support they've given me. So there's a level of respect between us, between myself and between the fans over in the UK, Europe now that, I could never imagine would be like this when I started going over there in 2019.
You and I spoke after you won at Wentworth for the first time, and what a big leap that is for any player to really not only make the choice to be global, but to win globally, to win it again, and to outlast the guy who in that part of the world, it's such a big deal. Explain to people what it's like to have a pairing like that, to come through, to execute, to hit the shot you hit into 18 in the playoff. What is that like for someone like yourself?
It's amazing. Like I said, my entire life, when I decided that golf was going to be my way into professional sport, that's all I cared about. That's all I cared and dreamed about as a kid, is being a professional athlete. I didn't know what sport it was going to be, and it wasn't until I was 14 when I broke my elbow playing baseball that I figured golf was probably the path I should choose. And so from that moment, all I dreamed about was playing against the best players in the world at the time and competing against them and coming out victorious and putting my name along their name on trophies. And so to go over to Wentworth to play an historic event like that has legends, Hall of Famers, major winners attached to it, to have been able to win it in 21 and to come back in 24 and to win it again, but win it against who I believe is the greatest player in our generation, and Rory McIlroy. And the support that he receives over there is unbelievable. listen, I get great support, and I tell people that but I said Rory is he's not on another level. It's on another, stratosphere, another solar system. I mean, it really is cool, and he's such a great ambassador for the game of golf. But to go head to head with him, not head to head, but to play with him the last 2 days, we have a great friendship. We've competed against each other in the Walker Cup. We've competed against each other in 2014 Tour Championship when I won the FedEx Cup. So we've had these battles between us, and obviously he's had a hell of a better career than I have had. But I embrace the challenge whenever I have a chance to play with him or have a chance to compete against him for a golf tournament. And like I said, to go in a playoff with him and Tristan Lawrence, and then for us to be the last two standing, and him hit an unbelievable golf shot in on 18 in the second playoff hole, and for me to have to follow that up with another equally great golf shot. He hit a great putt that I thought was in it, just missed, and I knew, as I've told people after the tournament and since then, I needed to make that putt right then and there, because you can't play with fire, because at some point in time you're going to get burned. And I've been lucky enough that in a lot of our matchups head to head, I've come out victorious. But there's always that moment he's going to come, he's going to do something special and win. So I had to take full opportunity of that chance, and I did, and I have tremendous respect for him. And so I've been fortunate enough to win some special tournaments, but that win right then and there is probably my most special win, because obviously it's a bigger time event in the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth, but it's who I did it against and how I did it as well. And I putted my butt off all week. I putted unbelievable. I didn't strike it well. Ball striking wasn't anywhere close to what I expect. But I was still able to find something to get the job done at the end against, like I said, a player who arguably could be a top 5 player ever to play the game, depending on how he finishes the last 5 to 10 years of his career.
You mentioned your friendship with him. You're roughly 2 years older than him, but you go back to the origins of you guys being around each other, which is 2007 in a Walker Cup. Why do you think you have the relationship you have with him now?
I think it's a mutual respect factor. I think I know how hard he works. I know what the goals he has in his life, and what in sense of golf. I see how he handles himself. I give him tremendous respect for everything he has to deal with. The only other guy in our generation that has had to deal with the media and everything else, and the expectations anywhere close to him, is Tiger Woods, in my opinion. And then I think he respects how hard I work. Listen, I'm nowhere near as talented as he is, but he sees I put everything into the game of golf. I give it everything I can. And I respect people that, work hard and do the right things and try to do, good things, on and off the golf course. So I think there's just a respect factor for us, as each of us as professional golfers, but also as individuals. And he sees how I handle myself off the golf course, and I think he respects that respects me for that.
Billy, my observation, and I agree with all that. I think something else is at play here, is that giving an opinion can come at a cost. And there are a lot of people in professional sports who make a choice not to, and that's their prerogative. You have always been willing to share what your state of mind is on issues, and he has too. And in time, opinions can evolve, they can change, but I think people appreciate people's willingness to put yourself out there. And I think that exists between you two. Is that fair?
No, I think you make a great point there. And I do believe that. And, I think we both see the game of golf the same way. We both see the future of the game of golf. I mean, we've had conversations about this, just not in the last couple of years, but, in previous years of how to, improve the PGA Tour, how to, give back to the game of golf. I think he mentioned something to one of my team members when we played together at Dunhill a couple weeks ago. He respects the effort that I make to come over to the European Tour, the DP World Tour, to play golf, when I could easily just stay home and take time off. I think he respects, my willingness to travel and try and play outside the United States. And so yeah, I mean, the opinion side, listen, we all, give opinions, and we all try to give, what we feel based off the information we have. And I think you have to have a sense of, I don't know if it's belief, but and you have to have a sense of what you believe is right, to be able to share something like that. You can't be worried about what are people going to say about me, or how people are going to see me. If you believe if something isn't being done right, and you want to share it, then don't be afraid to share it, because that's obviously your opinion.
Do you think, or are you at all surprised about his position on LIV and how it's evolved, and that he had a hard time even saying LIV without saying something, derogatory in front of it or right behind it? And now it's trying to drive peace, or trying to drive some sensible coexistence. Do you understand where that's coming from his point of view?
Yeah, I think, listen, we both have given opinions, and I think both our opinions were on the same page when LIV got started. He was a little bit, I would say, a little harsher in the sense of on the individual guys and making the decision to leave the PGA Tour for the money and everything. And I'd never once criticized a player for making a decision financially that was going to improve the lives and the family lives. He was a little bit tougher on that situation than me, and I think he didn't like how LIV was disrupting the world of golf. But I think obviously, what was it, maybe a year ago, 18 months ago, he realized, like, listen, my stance on these guys was too harsh. Like, I understand. I think he just, when he looked at some of the guys who could have been legacies, made their legacy even strong in the game of golf, and they chose in a different path. I think that was tough for him to see, because he could never make that decision himself. Where I looked at it in the financial sense that, hey, guys are going to, financially, they're going to do what's best for themselves and their family, even though they've, accomplished so much in the game of golf, and they could improve and even cement the legacy even more and their name in the game of golf more. I never, hammered them for that. I hammered them for some of the, asinine comments that they said when they left, and some hypocritical statements that they said about the PGA Tour that were false. That's where I said, and I still stand by some of that, or I still stand by pretty much everything I've said. I'm not going to backtrack, because I think nothing I said was I want to take back. But I do believe what people don't know is when LIV did get started, we had conversations about this. He always said that Yazir and Piff and the Saudis, all they cared about was being in the game of golf. Yazir loved the game of golf. He just wanted to have a seat at the table and help, I say grow the game of golf. I hate using that term, grow the game of golf, but he just wanted to be a part of bringing golf to a more global stage and bringing golf to more people around the world. And Roy always said from the very beginning to me in a private setting, he felt like at some point in time, a deal would be made with the PGA Tour and PIF in a sense that was going to benefit, all parties going forward. And so, listen, he was right in his statements privately to me. And so that's why I was always it was a little odd to me that he was so harsh and sometimes in his public comments, because of what I know he said to me in a public or a private setting. But listen, we all grow as individuals. We all see things, in a better light than maybe we saw originally. And, I respect him for, changing his opinions and admitting fault. Listen, we all make mistakes, but the people who are able to admit their faults are the ones who are able to grow and become a better person from it. And so, Roy's always been able to do that. And he's been one of the reasons why I think we've tried to make this deal with PIF a success.
Do you foresee, whether it's a current LIV player, I think to a lesser degree, tour player, playing one or the other in 2025? Or are we going out to 2026? Like, where's the cleanse? What does it look like?
I think 2025 is going to look like it has the last couple of years.
Okay.
I don't think, I don't think you're going to see any LIV players be able to play on the PGA Tour. If a deal happens before the end of the year, I don't think anything's going to be rectified for some players to be able to come back to play in 25, 26, 27, 28, somewhere around that time frame. I think that's when you're going to start to see, maybe what the future of golf looks like, the schedule-wise, playing globally-wise. That's what I hope for. That's what I truly hope for. Listen, I think this. As I mentioned when I was over in the UK and Europe, I could never imagine when I did a press conference at the Scottish Open in 2022. And listen, I said some things that were strong, and I still stand by it. As I said from the very beginning, I never criticized the Saudis. I never, talked about blood money or sports washing. I may have said some comments about LIV in the sense that I didn't think it was a future of the game of golf the way that they were saying. They were saying, hey, this is the future of the game of golf. 54-hole tournament, shotgun starts, team format. I do believe teams, as I said back then, could possibly happen. I could see that as a way to, change some things up in the game of golf because players want it and fans want it. But I could never imagine with the comments I said in 22 that 2 years later we would have, fans that we have pushed away from the game of golf that have been disenchanted with everything that's gone on and sort of lost interest in golf a little bit. Could never imagine that. And so we have realized that. All parties have realized that, in my opinion. And so we need to do a better job of making this whole again and putting the sponsors and the fans first ahead of everything so that the game is able to continue to grow, give back to all the parties that are involved.
So for the foreseeable future, this signature series of events, what's the right number, field size, in your mind?
I think, listen, I was on board when we did these, I think I was on the pack when they made these decisions or not on the smaller field size.
Yeah.
I thought that was a benefit. I thought it was a way to give the fans the opportunity to see the best players play together more often. And I was on board with the field size, but even though I was on board, I still had opinions about it, and I felt like 72 to 75 man fields were maybe a little too small. I don't think it brought enough storylines into a golf tournament. I thought maybe closer to 90, maybe 120 is too much, but I thought maybe 90 to 100 was a better storyline where you brought more of the Davids involved and not so much of the, all the Goliaths. I think fans, as much as they like to see the best players go head to head, the storylines that really do make a moment is when you do have some Goliaths and you do have some Davids competing at the end of a tournament, trying to win. You have the Goliaths that are the studs that are trying to submit their legacy more, win events more, add to their resume more. And you have these Davids that, are better than a journeyman pro. They're better than just an average tour player, but they haven't won yet, or they haven't really made their name on the PGA Tour yet. And here it is. They have a perfect opportunity going against the best players in the world in the final round of a golf tournament to really make a name for themselves in professional golf and on the PGA Tour.
I couldn't agree more. Look, stars drive what you do in every sport, but the door is always ajar for the underdog. Always. That's part of the texture of sports. And Billy, one of the things I've always admired the most about what you guys do is that there is a true element of meritocracy to this. And I think in the absence, and you can say, come on, you're getting too in the weeds about needing a cut. I think that's one of the essence of what elite professional golf is, that if you don't play well enough, there's jeopardy. There's something that can be lost, including employment on the weekend. And to me, 100 players with a modest cut, whether it be to 50 in ties or 60 in ties. And here's the other thing, Billy, like living in Charlotte, I know what the Wells was. It was 156, which is beefy. That's a lot of people. Yeah. However, the business model of split tees and two waves and concessions and having people on a golf course from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. And then 2 years short of right now, you go, no, it's going to be 70. It's going to be one wave. That's disruptive. It's disruptive to the business model. And oh, by the way, the purse is going to go from 9 and change to 20. See, to me, there's more guys, you would agree with this, that can win now than ever. And I think shrinking the opportunity to a point where you're eliminating cuts in half of these signature series events flies in the face of what is one of the essential challenges of your job. Be good enough to just see the weekend.
I've always believed in a cut, and I always push for a cut, because I think a cut, for me, when I'm playing with players and they're on the cut line or maybe a couple shots out the cut line, the back nine, it shows to me how much they really care about golf and what they are really playing for, and how much of a give an F factor they have. I've seen too many guys sort of the last couple of holes be 2 shots out of a cut and sort of just not really give an F anymore. And I see guys that are grinding it out and they make a cut. And I've sort of correlated this in the sense that it may not correlate 100%, but if you're able to make a big putt, or make a birdie in the last couple of holes, or make a birdie in the last hole to make a cut, you have enough of the whatever you need to win a golf tournament. Because when it comes down at the end of a golf tournament to win, and you need to find something, dig deep, you can pull on how I grinded it out and I was able to find something, dig deep to make a cut. And so I've always tell by a player, I'm like, hey, that guy has something right there. He's able to dig a little bit deeper to make this cut. And I think, if he gets in contention, if he can think about it the right way and look back at things, he can pull this moment and use it as a way to close out a golf tournament or get his victory on a golf tournament. I've always, like I said, I just always think a cut is a great way. And I understand we're making changes on the PGA Tour, and I've spoke about some of these changes years ago about, we have way too many guys on the PGA Tour that have a PGA Tour card. And people when they hear me say that, they're like, well, you're taking opportunity away. I'm not taking opportunity away. What I'm doing is I'm giving a better opportunity for the majority of the membership, especially guys at the back end of the membership, to be able to compete in better events on the PGA Tour on a regular basis. So, listen, we're going to make some changes to field sizes. We're going to make some changes to cards going forward. And I know people are going to have a point or an opinion about it. But I do believe it's making a better PGA Tour. It's making a better product, and it's giving a better opportunity to the entire membership of the PGA Tour. One thing I've always could never wrap my head around is when you had a full PGA Tour membership card that didn't guarantee you a start in every open field event on the PGA Tour. That always sort of irked me a little bit. And so here guys are coming off the Korn Ferry Tour out of Q School, and they're on the bottom end of the reshuffle, and they may only get a couple events out on the West Coast. And if they don't play well, they're going to be way back. And they only may get a couple more events before the next reshuffle. And so I always felt like, man, here they are. They dreamed about their entire lives of playing the PGA Tour, and they got a card, and they may only be able to play in the first 4 months, 4 or 5 open events on the PGA Tour. And they're going to have to go play a couple opposite field events, which opposite field events are great. And I won one of them last year, and it's a great opportunity, but it's a completely different feel than an open event with the top players playing that tournament.
You, and this conversation kind of blew my mind at Congaree a couple years ago when you and Bruce Davidson were talking about the Premier League, and I knew that you knew. I just didn't have an idea of the density of information in the context you have about that league. Which is one of the great global sporting leagues in the world. And relegation is a bona fide element of it. Do you think real relegation in men's professional golf would be attractive to fans?
I do believe so. And I think I talked about this at Dunhill a month ago in my press conference. I've always looked at the PGA Tour and said, how can we make it better? Whenever I'm involved in something, whenever I care about something, and I'm fully immersed in it, I'm always looking at how can we make it better? How can we improve our product? And so for the PGA Tour, I've always looked at that sense. And so I would say probably about 6, 7 years ago, I always felt like during my time, we would create a global tour. We would figure out some way to make a global tour happen. And I figured, I've heard Adam Scott talk about it, and we've actually had conversations about it, but I always felt like, I guess the best way to look at it is sort of like a pyramid. You have this global tour at the top, and then right below it would be, you could say, the PGA Tour, Korn Ferry Tour, whatever you want to call it. You have the DP World Tour and the Challenge Tour, or maybe you have its PGA Tour, DP World Tour, Global PGA Tour, whatever. And then the Korn Ferry Tour and Challenge Tour would be below those. And so let's say at the top you have 120 guys or 100 guys on this global tour at the top of the pyramid. You relegate 20 guys a year or 30 guys, whatever it is, and they drop down to the DP World Tour or the PGA Tour. And then same thing, it's sort of an up and down pyramid that allows guys to move up and have the opportunity to play this unbelievable global tour. And then if you don't play well, you get relegated to these next tours. And if you don't play well in those tours, you get relegated to the tours below it. But I've always felt like, the way I've looked at, that's the way I could see it happening. Whether that is going to happen or not, I don't know. That's my opinion. I have no information at its base that allows me to make this judgment, but that's the way I've looked at it for close to 8 years, I would say 6 to 8 years. And I think it would sort of, not that we don't have it now, but it would make it a little bit better defined way, I guess, in sense of the future of the game of golf.
Do you think that that's what the fall might look like, let's say 27 beyond? And let's say whether it's overwhelmingly American players, wherever they're from, that the global element of this tour, let's say it's going to, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's going to the Far East, South America, that the fall is the time that those things would happen? I would think that doing global events in the heart of a summer schedule around a major season and a player season would just be too hard.
Yeah, it's there's so many challenges. And like I said, I talk about with ease and how these tours could work and everything. But I think what people don't understand, there's so many other factors into it. Like TV, the commercial aspect of TV outside the United States is not very viable. We all know that. Watching golf in America when a tour is being played in another country, is the TV ratings are going to be awful. That's just a fact. It doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter what product you put out there, the TV ratings are going to suffer. And then the travel schedules, like you said, you can't play, when you've got the PGA, let's just say Augusta in April, PGA in May, US Open in June, and Open Championship in July. It's tough to work out playing outside the United States in that little window, because there's only usually 3 or 4 weeks before an event. The only time it would make sense is between the US Open and the Open Championship, or maybe a couple weeks after the Open Championship, of making some events outside the US work. So really, when you look at the best time for a global schedule or to get guys to possibly play outside the U.S. is in the fall. But then comes the effect of, well, guys on the U.S. side, if they don't have to, and they're not forced to, they are not going to travel outside the U.S. because, for one, financially, they don't need to. It doesn't really matter what you make the purses. Listen, we're not going to make these purses $50 million because that's not viable. But even if you make a purse outside the United States, $25 million, U.S. players aren't going to go play it. The top ones aren't, because there's what advantage do they get? They're making considerable amount of money. We're doing financially well. The top players on the PGA Tour, and a lot of players on the PGA Tour, are doing very well. But you're not going to get the top guys to leave. They want time off, especially if we have a very busy schedule from January to August. So there's so many things of trying to figure out. And I tell Jay this, and I tell Guy Kings this, and I tell anyone who is involved in this discussion, I'm happy I'm not sitting at this table trying to figure this all out and trying to figure out how to make this all work. Because you got to get the players to buy in, you got to get the sponsors, you got to get the TV, you got to get it all figured out to make it work and be viable. And it's just a very tough thing to do. And you can get the commitment from the sponsors. Can you get the commitment from the players? And how does the TV aspect, and will the TV aspect of it, will they sort of, take a little hit in the fall when the TV numbers aren't great to be able to show this product on a global stage. So listen, it's a very challenging thing. And I know fans and everyone in the game of golf are very frustrated and they want to see what's going to happen. And I just, whenever I do my outings with my sponsors and I get these questions, I'm like, we just got to stay patient. I know it's tough, but I do believe when it's all said and done, I do believe golf will be in an unbelievable position going forward. And I do believe the sponsors and the fans will be very excited and very happy with the product that we put out for them to enjoy, continue to enjoy.
It is challenging is if you're saying that a $20 million purse can't entice top players to go play. I'm sure that if Lanny Watkins or Hale Irwin heard this, they'd be like,
they would be. And listen, I mean, it is, I know it's a crazy thing to say, but I mean, honestly, like, I don't know the last time I looked at a purse. And I don't even know the last time. I know the signature events are 20 million. I know Players Championship is, I don't know, I think it's 25 million now. Yeah. But I've never made a decision to go play a tournament based off the purse. I've never, in my 15 years as a tour player, I've never made a decision to play a tournament because of the purse. I've made decisions for tournaments based off the golf course, based off, do I like the city? Do I like the area? Do I have friends there? Do I enjoy going there? Those are all the decisions I make. The purse is never a decision I've made to go play a tournament.
The idea of co-sanctioning events, like I thought it was great that Peter Malnati realized that he had an opportunity to play at Wentworth, and he went. I think that if you're going to have an alliance with the DP World Tour, and we're seeing some of that. We're seeing some opportunities for DP World Tour players to dip their toes in the water in the United States. I think there should be more of that, Billy. I think that the Dunhill, I'm a huge proponent of that event. I think it's one of the great events in golf. I understand it's during football season, but guess what? It's on in the morning hours. And you're right, the ratings will be modest, but events, these wonderful events that are national championships in some of these European nations, that there are more opportunities. And in kind, I think the PGA Tour could open up more avenues for guys from the DP World Tour. And the lion's share of them want to get to this country ultimately to play on a regular basis. Don't you think that should be a viable outlet?
I do. There's a couple things there. I think Dunhill is an unbelievable event. I love it. Going to St. Andrews, playing that event. I mean, I don't take it for granted. I'm very lucky to get to go there over the last 4 years and play. It's one of my most enjoyable weeks playing golf. I do believe when you look at the tournaments over in the UK and the European, I think there's some events that are really great events. I think when you look at the French Open, I think it's the oldest or second oldest national open in the entire world. And I think these are where we need the game of golf, whether it's PGA Tour, DP World Tour, whether it's when PIF comes in, we prop up these national opens, these events that have been around that have the likes of Faldo, Longer, Seve, Monty, I'm forgetting
legends.
Other guys' names, legends that have won these trophies. I think we need to do a better job, especially down in Australia. No doubt about that. I do believe some guys on the European Tour do have a desire to play over on the PGA Tour, but with going over there for the last 5 years and playing and having conversations, they love their tour. Yeah. They absolutely love their tour. And yes, the PGA Tour is something they desire because of the financial side of it, but they love playing over there, love playing on their tour, going to these countries and supporting their tour. And honestly, the conversations I've had with them, they would be very happy if they could, the majority of purses average between $5 to $7 million. I think if that was what they had, between $4 to $7 million, I think you would see very few players come over to play on the PGA Tour side.
Interesting.
Because the lifestyle over there, I think is a little bit is more enjoyable. The way the feel of the tournaments are and everything is completely different than the PGA Tour. And so I think, you have to have a real desire of wanting to play the PGA Tour to come over here. And I think a lot of those guys, yes, they have a desire, but I think when they come over here and they sort of get a sense, some of them were like, man, you know what? I like the DP World Tour more. I like the feel of our tour. I like where we go and everything else. And listen, they're close to home. Let's not forget that.
Sure.
That's a big part of it as well. And so I think if there was a way we could help the DP World Tour more in the sense of the purses for the players, I think that would be it would improve their product and listen, I'm pulling away guys that add value to the PGA Tour, because a lot of those guys would come over here if we're continuing to come over here. If the DP World Tour wasn't, if we didn't get the purses up to the number. But I do believe we need to, somehow find to help the financial side on the DP World Tour a little bit better. And then let the guys decide. But that's why I said I think the global tour is really the way to go, because it's going to be tough to have a very successful PGA Tour, in sense of commercial aspect and a financial sense to continue to grow. And it's going to be tough to have a DP World Tour, somewhat competing against the PGA Tour if, we're not getting always the best players in the world playing. So having one tour where all the best players in the world are playing is what I think, my opinion, is where it should go. And then the DP World Tour, PGA Tour is the next level down. We're going to use Premier League. It's championship league of the Premier League, and the PGA, the global tour is the Premier League of golf. So, like I said, once again, I go back to, I can talk about it and say a lot of stuff, but I'm happy I'm not in the rooms trying to figure out how this is all going to work.
Do you get the sense there is a point person from this strategic sports group? Look, you've got a lot of firepower in that room among people who've done a lot of stuff when it comes to owning and advancing professional enterprises and brands, leagues, franchises. Is there a point person that you think has been identified?
I think listen, everything that I know is that they are all involved in a very, in-depth level of discussion and everything. I know John Henry's very involved, and I know Arthur Blank's very involved with it. I know Theo Epstein, who works for the Fenway Group now, has been very involved with it. I know Steve Cohen's right hand, his right hand guy. I'm drawing a blank on his name. His last name's Cohen too, but they're not brothers.
Yeah.
I know he's very involved in it. So I know they all are involved in a very in-depth way, and they all have sort of their own little path that they're helping to be successful, that they're going down. Hey, will you take care of this? I'll take care of this. I take care of this. They all work together, but they all have their own, I believe, their own little routes that they're following to help grow, figure out how this whole thing comes together.
Two other items before I get you out of here. The Keegan Bradley news, did you know about him being the captain before it was publicly announced?
No, I just finished up the pro member at Queenwood, and we were flying up to the Scottish Open when it got announced. And I think, like everyone, we were shocked by it. But when I thought a little bit more about it, my initial reaction, I was shocked. I was shocked that we're going to go with a young guy. Why didn't we go with someone like Webb Simpson, who had been an assistant captain on the President's Cup the year prior? Why didn't we go with like a Matt Kuchar, who I believe was an assistant captain at, was it Whistling Straits maybe?
Yeah.
On the Ryder Cup. But when I looked a little deeper and I thought about him, like, Keegan Bradley makes a lot of sense, even though he still has that opportunity of making the team and still is playing at a high level. When you look at his ties to the Northeast area, when you look at the passion he has for the Ryder Cup, I think it makes a lot of sense. And just the few discussions I've had about it, and just sort of understanding what his vision is, what he wants, how he wants to put his spin on things. I think they made a really, really great choice, and I think Keegan's going to bring some new blood, new ideas, new things to hopefully this Ryder Cup. And I've never been a part of it, so I have no clue the inner workings. I just know what I see and what I hear, before or after Ryder Cup. I think he's going to do a really impressive job. Listen, he's going to be judged at the end of the day on his wins or loss, but I think he's going to, hopefully start a path that will be followed by future captains going forward.
This is not to make it personal to him, but you mentioned, look, he was just on a President's Cup team. Do you think any player can be a playing captain, whether it be from the United States or Europe?
Like I said, I've only been part of one team, so I don't know how everything, how hard it is and everything, but just knowing, seeing the other captains in other former competitions, and the time and just talking to them and everything that has to be decided and everything, I think it's going to be really tough for Keegan to handle everything. I do believe if there is one saving grace for him, I believe it's John Wood as a team manager, which is going to take a lot of stuff off Keegan's plate. John Wood is an unbelievable, caddy for many years for Kuchar and Hunter Mahan. He's a great guy, and he's very passionate about team competition, especially Ryder Cup. And so I think he's going to help Keegan out a lot. But, just hearing what Rory has said on the matter, in the sense of it will be very tough for Keegan to, try and maintain a high level of play, and then also captain the Ryder Cup team. So I hope Keegan's able to do both, and it would be great if Keegan, how cool would it be if he's able to play his way onto the team and be the Ryder Cup captain? But I think ultimately there may be a little strain there, a little give. And I think knowing Keegan, knowing how passionate he is, how he is about the Ryder Cup, he will make sure that he is fully prepared for the Ryder Cup and maybe give, give his game of golf a little pass this year if it means being successful and winning the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, to me, look, whether it's Europe, whether it's the United States, Billy, the way I look at it, the way this thing has grown, I think it's a non-starter for anybody. And having talked to a number of past captains, a lot of European past captains, they would love it if Keegan was a playing captain. Because here's the way I look at it. I don't think there's any way that you can be the best at one or the other if you're trying to do both. One of the primary, and you were on a team, so you know this, one of the primary things that a captain tries to do is shield his players from as much of the outside noise as he can. How can he do that while simultaneously shielding himself? I just think it is so hard to be one or the other, let alone be the best at both. You know this, Europe would love it if he tried to play as a captain. It would diminish him in both areas.
Like I said, obviously playing over there on the European tour and talk to the guys, they would love it if he does make the team. There's no doubt about it. We've had conversations about it, and they would love it if he makes it as a playing captain. But I guess, you're talking about being the best, whether it being the best Ryder Cup captain, being the best player, I guess, I look at it and I try and compute it in the sense of me trying to be the best golfer I can be and me trying to be the best father I can be. It's a very tug of war.
Yeah.
And it's a very tough job to do, to be the best at everything. If I'm going to be the best father to my kids, then I'm going to quit the game of golf. I'm going to be home with them. I'm going to, be here every day, see them, support them, take them to sporting events, be there with them when they're low, and at the low moments. That's being a great dad. That's being the best dad you can possibly be. But it's tough because golf is what I've chosen to support us and is my selfish desire in this world. And so it's tough to be both, because if I'm going to be the best golfer, then I got to pull away from me being a dad, in the moments, in certain moments, I'm going to be away from them and everything. And I'm going to spend more time practicing, at home. Even when I'm home, I'm practicing. Sometimes when, if I was going to be the best dad, I'd be taking them to the sporting events on, that day or being involved in that. But my golf is calling me because I need to make sure my game's in a good shape to play well. So it's going to be very interesting how Keegan handles it. But like I said, I do believe if there's any saving grace, it's because of John Wood and, I guess some of the people Keegan has around them are really good people, and they're going to hopefully help take some of the weight and some of the I guess, the day-to-day stuff that is required as a Ryder Cup captain off his shoulders. So, but like I said, I do believe Keegan will make sure that he is the best Ryder Cup captain he can possibly. He cares so much about it. You can hear it when he talks about it. You can see it, the passion he has for it. I think we saw the passion he had this past month ago at the President's Cup, what it means for him to be part of a team competition. So he wants to make sure that he's done everything he can to be successful and give the guys the best chance of winning a Ryder Cup at Bethpage.
All right, let me get you out of here with these 5 quick questions. The number 1 candy in the Horschel Halloween cauldron, what is it? You please tell me that you and Brittany don't hand out like raisins or apples.
No chance. I think my little guy Axel, he likes the Sour Patch watermelon.
Yeah, very sugary item.
Yep. Skylar right now, she's got braces on, so she can't really eat anything gummy or stuff like that. So I think she had like a Three Musketeers bar, the other day. Colby, my middle one, she's not a big chocolate lover, so she doesn't like chocolate, but I think, we both, listen, I've got a massive sweet tooth, so there's a lot of things, but the first thing that came to my mind was Mike and Ike's. So I like Mike and Ike's. Colby likes Mike and Ike's.
It's old school.
Yeah. And Brittany likes candy corn. She's a big candy corn.
Now that's really old school.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are a lot of kids who don't even know what candy corn is. I think candy corn is highly overrated, but good for her that she's into it. All right. Yeah. With all your travel, what is the ideal travel top and bottom that you travel in? Is it a soft fleeced hoodie? Is it like a jogger sweat? What is your go-to travel gear?
It's not shocking. I'm going to say Ralph Lauren, because pretty much everything I own is Ralph Lauren.
Of course.
But it's like a Ralph Lauren, like sort of sweatpants, joggers, and majority of the time I'm always in a long sleeve, sort of like non-branded Ralph Lauren. Has no logos in it, but it's like a collared shirt, sort of. You can wear sort of just casually with it. So
that's it. Yeah. I'll tell you, the soft bottom, like the sweatpant jogger, every time I walk into a shop, I see if they have that's my go-to now. Like I'm not ever going to buy another golf shirt in my life, but there are a lot of, I'm sure that Ralph Lauren's got a soft bottom. Bidrati does, Millar does, Zero Restriction does. It's a great travel item. All right, the last grown-up,
I would say if we're going somewhere cold, like if it's like wintertime and it's cold in Jacksonville and I'm leaving and I'm going somewhere where it's cold, usually I'll have a cashmere hoodie on too. I mean, something very soft, very lightweight. Yes, it's a hoodie and it's a sweater, but I mean, temperature-wise, I can wear it in 85-degree weather or 75-degree weather and be fine, and it's perfect in 40-degree weather.
I think the hoodie, and I get it. It's become a very stylish item for travel. The fact that you've got that material behind your head, I think, is the most practical reason why everybody should wear a hoodie when they travel. You're putting your head on the back of that headrest. Thousands of people, I think the hoodie is the go-to. All right, the last grown-up movie you saw in a movie theater?
I was in San Antonio earlier this year, and I watched Dune 2.
Did you go alone? Did you go with somebody else?
Yeah, I went alone. I went alone. I went to this, right next to the course with this, like, I think it was called like the Alamo Theater or something, and Alamo Draft House. And so I've never been to a theater like this, and so I sat there, and you order food from your seat. And so I ordered some food, like I ordered some fried pickles, which I thought was just like the little, pickle chips fried.
Yeah.
It was an entire pickle, like cut up pickle fried, which was unbelievable. I've never seen it. It was awesome.
So when you go to a movie alone, do you sit closer to the front? You sit closer to the back? Are you an aisle guy? Are you middle of the... Where do you go when you're alone in a movie theater? What's your strategy?
I always sit in the aisle, and I always sit, 3 or 4 rows from the back. Whether I'm alone or I'm not alone, I always try to sit there.
Okay.
And so there's always a little tug of war if I, not that my wife and I have gone to many movies together, but I think we both are on the same page. We like to be by the aisle, and we like to be somewhat, I guess, higher we can be.
Okay. What was your junior prom date's name, and where is she now?
Junior prom. I only went to my senior prom.
You didn't go to the junior prom?
I'm not even sure we had a junior prom at my high school.
Okay, who was your senior prom date?
Oh,
Oh, don't act like you don't know her name.
no, I swear to God, I don't.
Wow,
I mean,
what a night.
Gosh. I don't even know. I honestly, I can't remember.
If you don't know her name, you clearly don't know where she is now.
I don't
You're
know.
at a loss.
Listen, I honestly, this is a bad thing. Like, only reason I think I had a date was because my friend was taking her friend or taking this girl, and it was her, and she was there, and she was a junior. And so he's like, I think I asked her because he's like, they were going together. I was like, okay, I'll ask her as my date. Like, I was fine going by myself. I think what people got to understand is I'm very happy being by myself and not having a date or having all this other stuff.
Respect
like, I'm
the
very
hell out
content.
of that.
I'm very content always been very content in my own skin and who I am. And so I just felt like, it was like three of my buddies or two of my buddies. And so we just, we asked, he was dating somebody and we asked her friend and just made it easy. So.
So you wore.
She was nice. She's a great girl. She was awesome.
Great girl. You don't remember her name. Great girl though.
I'm drawing a blank, and oh my gosh, I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue, and I don't want to say the wrong name, but yeah,
she's a traditional nice, black tux for you.
Yeah, traditional black tux. Yeah,
what it cost? $125 to rent it for 2 nights. What do you remember?
Yeah, I think that was about right. I think we rented it from Men's Warehouse or something like that.
Nice,
something like that. Yeah.
All right. Last thing, the most aesthetically pleasing golf hole in the world that you've seen. What's the best? Whether it's standing on the tee, standing on the green, wherever it is, a hole that just takes your breath away.
I'm not going to give you a hole because I can't give you a hole. I'm not very good at that. What I will give you is that when you were playing Kingsbarn and you are on the 4th tee at Kingsbarn and the sun is the right way and it's shiny and you look back towards the clubhouse and you can see, almost every hole on the front side. You can see pretty much every hole on the front side. And you can see every hole on the back side except 3 because there's trees that are blocking it. And the way the terrain is and when the light hits it the right way, I mean, it's one of the coolest, most beautiful views I've ever seen. I just think whenever we're fortunate enough that it always seems to happen, whether it's in a practice round or during a tournament, I always stand on that 4th tee and I'm like, gosh, this is pretty amazing. I mean, I'm over here playing golf for a living on a course like this. I think about where golf has taken me, where I've come from and everything. I'm like, I'm pretty lucky in this life.
Yeah, it's good. It's a great answer. I think that Kyle Phillips, that the achievement of building what he built, considering the neighborhood he built it in, is one of the great achievements in the modern era of golf design. For it to be as widely regarded and rightfully so as it is, that's a great answer. I will tell you, you asked me before we get started about me just being over there. Muirfield, to me, there are places on that golf course because it's recessed from the water that are overwhelming in terms of its beauty and just scale. When you're out there and you're like, my God, this is as special as it gets. Well, listen, I hope you, Brittany, the kids, I hope you have a great holiday season.
Thank you.
And
you as well.
Decompress. And I hope Billy Napier gets a couple more. I hate for you to have to go public about your position on your football coach.
I don't give public opinions on coaches at the University of Florida. Actually, that's false. I can criticize them at certain times, but I don't give my public opinions on that. I don't give my public opinions on political stuff.
Very smart. Thank you, my friend, as always.
Yeah. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you again to Billy Horschel for taking the time to talk about himself, state of the tour, where it's going, Ryder Cup. The Halloween candy, I got to be honest, the candy corn, grossly overrated. And I emphasize grossly. But to each his own. Most importantly, thank you to all of you out there for listening and watching this 5 Clubs conversation. We'll see you next time.